So in this next slide, we're just talking about our content and structure. Actually, there's two slides that are involved here, but we're talking about here low proficiency, mid proficiency, or high proficiency students. And of course, low proficiency students, they basically need the functional standards, functional topics, like we mentioned in our last video. You know, how do I get to the supermarket? I like chocolate better than vanilla. These types of functional topics, and this is the CEFR topics for the most part. And notice we're talking more about input skills like listening and reading are input skills, but for output skills they're very scaffolded, they're very supported. And for writing, we just don't do much writing at this level. It's all very prompted and very structured if there's any writing involved, kind of like copy what you see sort of thing. But as soon as we get the students to any kind of mid-level proficiency, we want to move them to academic topics. Now we still have the CEFR standards under these topics, and we have the CEF standards under these topics as well. But if we can move them to the academic topics which are appropriate to their age and their grade, then we can begin also working with more output instead of input. These are speaking and writing. And we can, instead of scaffolded and prompted, prompts, we can use open-ended prompts, and we can get the students to create their own generated language. And then for writing, which is really one of the most important academic skills, we start them just to summarizing paragraphs. We move them to summarizing an entire page, and then we finally get them to summarizing an entire lesson. So this is generally how we evaluate the students' levels and skills in this paradigm. Now down here, when we have this 4th grader pace and the 8th grader pace, these are roughly equivalent to those trajectories that we were looking at in the previous slide. You see these gradients, they get steeper here. So here is a late grade student gradient. They're moving quickly up the language levels here, but you'll notice that we have another advantage because we can actually start them on lower grade material, which is less intense. The concept density is much lighter, and so it helps them with the cognitive handicap that they have because of their language deficiencies. But we can move them more quickly up to their actual grade level. However, with a younger grade student, we have the same advantage. We can take a 4th grader and start them at 1st grade, but we move them up, maybe more slowly to their grade level, and then we keep them at their grade level as they continually progress through the program. So this is one of the advantages. I want to just point that out, that we don't show the grade level gradient for an 8th grade student, but we can actually use lower level grade material for an 8th grade student at first, and then quickly move them up this gradient as well. Not only up you see right these colors, green and blue and purple. These colors represent, of course, the CEFR levels, and we're showing the gradient here. But we can also use an added gradient for late grade students, the grade level gradient, which is the less concept dense at the lower level and higher concept density at the upper level. So that's also an added advantage we have in the GEC system for language training. Now the last thing to say on this slide is that although we have a sample delivery structure down here, this delivery structure changes depending on the school profile, the class profile, the teacher profile. Do we have a in-class teacher who is maybe not a native English speaker, or what is the entire profile? We can change these delivery structures depending on that. So this is just a sample one. So again, this is our program and content structure up here, and down here is our sort of a sample lesson delivery structure, and I think that's a good orientation for this slide.